yeah.
Okay, here we are, Airsoft Table Talk, Season 2, Cast 1.
Take 2.
Take 2. Take 2. 3, 2, 1. One of the other things that I really dug at your event and is you guys get to use pyro. You were just saying, shit blows up.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was there, we demoed a vehicle. We got to use, you know, grenades that explode and smoke that was smoky to make the vehicle demoed.
Yeah.
Do you still get to do that at the new site? So,
yeah.
Okay.
So there's all sorts of different kind of pyro we use. We try to buy large firework type arty simulators for the mortar effects. So you know, someone calls in the grid, and then there's someone on the other end who's going to light that so that you get this loud boom with the explosion.
Let me jump in here for a second. How do you simulate someone calling in, making a call for fire?
Well, they'd actually do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the
do
tac op, and we teach it, and so you actually use it. It's a slightly simplified version because there's some parts of the call for fire for the military that just have no bearing or something you can't simulate in the event, but they still have to call it in, and they still have to call in the right grid.
Yeah, basically one of our founding members was a 13 Fox forward observer in the Army, and so he wrote up some rules for us that were kind of a modified version of something that he had used with indirect fire crews for training exercises. And basically what happens is there is a mortar crew that has mortars, that has aiming stakes, that has a compass, that has a protractor and a map, you know, and range adjustments on their mortar, and they go set the mortar up somewhere and pull security on it, and they wait for an observer to call them with a grid. And that observer calls them with a grid. They set their mortar for the correct range and, you know, distance and deflection. There's an admin with them that verifies that it's set. He calls the admin with the target unit, and the admin with the target unit drops when he hears the mortar fire. So
and if the grid's right.
And if the grid's right. So as a receiving...
he drops if the grid is wrong, but he drops in where the grid was.
Yeah,
clarification.
So he'll drop it like off target. He'll go run a couple 100 meters away, throw it, so you're receiving indirect, but not, you know, not directly on you. You might want to move out of the area before they bracket you and figure it out. So that's basically, I mean, that's essentially how it works. And it's kind of cool because, you know, like the first event we debuted those rules, I remember that after about the first 4 hours of play, you would see units would hear mortars fire in the distance, not even hear the splash yet, just hear the tubes firing, and everybody would hit the ground. Because they knew what was coming next, whether it was them or someone else, right? And so it's really exciting to see airsofters
The reaction to fire.
react to indirect fire, because that's not something like, you know, I love Airsoft, it's fun, but I love Milsim more. And Airsoft is just a technology. I mean, it's 100% just, it's just a tool that we use to create the game. And, you know, in a real battle, and we're not trying to create like an airsoft war. We're trying to create something that feels like a real battle to you. And in a real battle, there's all kinds of indirect assets engaging at range that you're hearing and seeing and having to deal with as an infantryman as you try and close to get to that last 100 yards, which is where the airsoft comes in. But everything up to that, you know, we're using mortars, we're using simulated air assets, we're using blank fire, we're using all of these different things we can to get people to understand that there's a much larger battle going on until you get to that close fight.
And I love that it's noisy. If Airsofters understood how loud combat was, there'd be a lot of soggy trousers out there.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know right now our producer is a huge fan of mortars, and he's like, I'm sure he's out there right now going, I need to get to one of these events.
Yeah.
Oh, he does.
And we're
Everybody
actually
should
in
get
the
to one of these
process right
events.
now trying to figure out how do we make the mortars better. The mortars continually evolve each event. I mean, we started with ABS mortars that looked real, but we were those guys, and then we were like, this didn't work. And so the next event, we custom built some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's eventually now at a point where if you're the mortar crew, like...
I saw pictures of your mortar crew for your last one.
Yeah.
Was it the DAIHL?
DAIHL Outpost.
DAIHL Outpost. And the mortar pit looked awesome.
It was very cool.
Like, I looked at it and I'm like, I can't tell that that's not... Actually, the reason I know it's not Afghanistan is it's too green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the area I was at in Afghanistan was green.
Yeah, it depends on where you are.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at and what time of year.
You should. We're gonna have a video that's hopefully coming out within the next couple of weeks that from DAIHL Outpost that emphasizes the mortars a lot, and it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and we've come across some more equipment that's going to make the mortars even cooler.
Yeah, and these are more of those skill sets that you actually have to have.
Right, that's the idea.
Do this.
We'll rotate players. I mean, if you got a squad of guys that wants to run the mortar, we'll teach you.
I got a squad of guys that wants to run the mortar.
I mean, even during the event, it doesn't have to be the same group of guys the whole time. You know, hey, let's go do that for 4 or 5 hours. That's cool.
And then go on a patrol or whatever.
Right.
Or I'm tired from patrolling. Let's hang out at the mortar pit
Exactly.
and do that and give someone else a chance to get out there.
No, that's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, good. No, please, we're here for you.
You know, one of the other cool things that kind of ties back into the mortars that we do that I don't know of anyone else that does is we allow monitoring of enemy comms.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I love that.
And I paid the price for
I know one other game that does it.
Yeah, you can
Eastwind, just so we have
continuity.
Yeah, we gotta get that Eastwind plug in here.
Mention Eastwind every single. So,
So
just to be clear, that's the #1 one you're.
Wait, so was that
right?
Eastwind that you were talking about? That's the 9-day Cold War simulation, right? Okay.
Yeah, and that is the #1.
Yeah, that's
no offense to you guys.
No,
No.
Nothing
It's
wrong
a cool
with
game.
I'd love to go to Eastwind.
Yeah, me as well.
But so with the comms, you can monitor them, but you can't transmit. So you can't jam them. You can't,
Well, you can't jam because it's actually illegal.
Well. But anyways.
Oh, really?
Wow. So at Crimean Crisis was pretty cool because the Russian mortar team we had a guy who was basically listening to NATO the whole time.
Oh, you can dime me out. It was me. I'm calling.
Was
I'm the
it?
NATO.
Actually,
I'm the NATO commander.
I
No,
thought
I'm
it
the
was our
NATO
guys.
commander calling in grids all over, and then we randomly get fire. And it took me a while to figure it out. Like, huh?
Yeah. So they'd send a they'd say, hey, we're at this grid. And so, Andy Chang, who's on the radio, would write down that grid and pass it over to the mortar team. And, pretty quick. It took him about 4 hours to realize that
I think it took us all day.
Every time they sent a grid in the clear, they got mortared. And so then at the next event, and the Russians were actually at that event were really good on comms, as we took our entire radios off of the GMRS platform. So, you could monitor them if you had a scanner or you knew the frequency, but you couldn't just do it with a regular GMRS radio.
Oh, this is good to know.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be the Russian commander. And then at the next event, the U.S. wised up and established this whole comms protocol. And
SOI
We
card.
did an op-sched.
Yeah.
We did an op-sched.
So you're basically just adding and subtracting code numbers to your grid so that you never send a grid in the clear.
And then we
so that
rotate
never
through the
happened.
codes.
We didn't break it.
You thought you were going to, but you didn't. At
They
least
should
something
have
like that.
intelligence guys working on this. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
we
mean,
we had
two little Russian gnomes.
one guy in each Russian squad was actually listening to enemy comms the entire time.
It was super cool because, like, at DAIHL Outpost, I was doing like the ODA thing and running the militia, and we had a sniper team out there, and they're like calling in grids, and I'm like writing it down. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta convert that. So I gotta pull down all these little cheat sheets and like, okay, add this and subtract. Oh, okay, I see where he's at, and then I had to go plot it. It's like that level of like extra work that I have to do. It's huge to go through that. It's stressful. And that's what I love. I love the stress.
Yeah.
I love the stress.
I mean, tying back to what you were saying, like what's different about our product, I think we've kind of already talked about it a little bit. If you just want to go run around and fight and capture flags and stuff like that, that's cool. And sometimes that's fun. I like to do that. Every other weekend I like to go down somewhere and just run around, divide, like whatever.
I did it when I was 12 and in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, no, it's fun. But we don't want you to just do that. Like, we want you to come and use your brain. We want you to come and fight with your brain and fight with your team, know how to read a map, know how to send a grid, know how to, use units in an accurate way, or at least a more reasonable way than everybody just pile on to the same objective. We like to have maneuver in Airsoft, not just fire and movement, but actually maneuver. Actually, like, I'm a company commander and I'm coordinating, 4 different platoons, and they're all, there's maybe 2, 3 clicks between each platoon.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have to be able to see 20 minutes in the future, like, where are we going to
be?
Yeah, where are they going to be? It's going to take them 20 minutes to walk there, so we need to make this call now. Where are we going to deploy this reserve force to? Or are we going to pull somebody off this objective to something else? Where is this indirect firing at us from? What are our high-speed avenues of approach, right? These are things we want people to think about.
And there's all this overlap of, like, units and supporting each other, and it's almost required at our games, not because we say it's required, but because the event's designed to make you required. I mean, I went to a large-scale national op 2 years ago. No, a year ago.
You're allowed to. We're allowed to like talk.
Yeah,
about
but we made an
need to.
internal
Yeah, we
pact to
decided
not
not
do
to.
it.
Okay, that's fine.
So I went to a large.
Because you got to live with it after.
Yeah, right.
And it's a hard business. It's a hard business to be in, and so, like,
Yeah, we don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want anyone to
But anyway,
think we're.
I went to this op, and so here I am. I'm coming in. I've been in combat. I've been to Afghanistan. I'm an officer. I've been a company commander. I've done all these jobs, and I get to this Airsoft event, and I'm like, I'm just going to be a squad leader. It's going to be cool. I got 12 dudes, and my platoon leader's a moron. I mean, he doesn't understand coordinating. I'm like, who's the #2 guy in charge? Because you don't have a platoon sergeant. Well, I don't know. You. I go, okay, you should probably tell the rest of the squad leaders. Why? So that there's no debate when it happens.
Yeah.
But the worst, the culminating event that just made me so frustrated was our platoon got a mission to go capture an IED or something like that. And so they got us trucks. And so I'm third squad, first squad gets on, second squad gets on, and I look and the truck's full. And I look at the PL and I'm like, what about my transpo? And as the truck's driving off, he goes, I don't know, figure it out, we'll see you out there. What? So one, what a really jerky move.
Right, yeah.
Right? Just as a player, what a jerky move. And two, as a leader, why would I leave 1/3 of my combat capability behind? And obviously the most 1/3 dialed in. It baffled me. So my experience was I couldn't go to another squad and get help, or I couldn't go to another platoon and get help.
You're on your own.
And there was no coordinating missions like, you know, your platoon, first platoon's going to put up the support by fire, and second platoon's going to, you know, do the assault.
Do the assault and do the security.
It wasn't. It was just like, it was like, you know, there was 8 companies or 8 platoons with 4 squads each. So it's just 32 squads out there doing whatever.
This very immersive, you know, milsim, suspension of disbelief. That's the game that you've got. Who are your players? Is everybody in the Pacific Northwest like this?